My mother always wanted a daughter instead of me. Years later, she set me up with a perfect woman who cheated for 2 years. But when the paternity test revealed the truth, my mother lied in court defending my ex and called another man's baby her grandchild. Now my father left her, and she lost everything over a fantasy. I'm 32 years old, I work in software sales, and I need to get this story off my chest because what happened last year basically destroyed my relationship with my mother and almost ruined my entire life. The thing is, my mom always, and when I say always, I mean always, wanted to have a daughter. I was born male, obviously, and I guess that was like a massive disappointment for her from day one. It's not something she told me directly when I was a kid, but you could tell, in the way she looked at little girls at the park, or how she would sigh when she saw quinceañera dress commercials, or the way her friends would talk about their daughters and she would just stay quiet with that sad face. My dad, Walter, was always great with me, took me to play baseball, taught me how to fix cars, all those father-son things you're supposed to do. But my mom, Helen, was different, kind of distant, like she was waiting for someone else to arrive, but that person never showed up. When I was, 15, I think, my mom finally told me directly. We were having dinner, something super casual, like pasta with tomato sauce or something, and out of nowhere she drops, "I always wanted to have a daughter, Joshua. I always dreamed of doing her hair and buying her dresses and being her best friend." And I just sat there with my fork in my hand thinking, okay, so what am I then? A consolation prize? My dad told her, "Helen, that's not appropriate." But she just shrugged and kept eating like she had just commented on the weather. From that day, things were weird between us. Not that we were close before, but after that it was like she would look at me and think about everything I wasn't. I tried not to let it affect me. I mean, I had my friends, my stuff, my life, and my dad compensated a lot by being twice as present. But it hurt, honestly, more than I'd like to admit. Fast forward to when I was 27. By then, I was already working at my current company, making decent money, had my own apartment. Things were going okay. My mom calls me one day, all excited, which was already weird because normally our conversations lasted like 5 minutes tops, and she tells me she has someone perfect for me. Turns out she had reconnected with a high school friend on Facebook, Rachel, and this woman had a daughter named Amanda, who, according to my mom, was beautiful, smart, devout Christian, basically an angel sent from heaven. I told her, "Mom, I don't need you setting me up on dates. I can meet people on my own." But she insisted and insisted until I basically had to say yes, just to get her to stop bothering me. My dad looked at me with that face like, "I'm sorry, son. You know how she is." And well, yeah, I knew. The first date with Amanda was, okay, I guess. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't like fireworks or anything either. She was pretty, that's for sure, like 26 at the time, long brown hair, nice smile, talked a lot about church and volunteering and all those things that sound good, on paper. But there was something that didn't quite convince me, you know what I mean? Like she seemed too perfect. But my mom was so happy, like calling me every other day, asking when I was going to go out with Amanda again. Rachel says, "Amanda thinks you're wonderful. You should invite her to dinner again." So I kept dating her, mostly to keep my mom happy, and eventually we became official boyfriend and girlfriend. During that year of dating, my mom was in heaven, always inviting Amanda to the house, taking her shopping, planning things together, basically treating her like the daughter she never had. I was happy that my mom finally seemed happy, though it hurt a little to realize that all she needed to be happy was a young woman in her life who wasn't me. We got married when I was 28 and Amanda was 27. The wedding was massive, like 200 people. A dress that cost like $5,000, flowers everywhere, live band, everything organized by my mom, who spent a fortune making her dream wedding. The wedding she had always imagined for the daughter she never had. I basically just showed up and said, "I do," when it was my turn. My dad paid for half of everything, obviously, but my mom was the one who made all the decisions about colors, menu, decorations, everything. Amanda was happy letting Helen control everything, which should have been a red flag, looking back. But at the time, I just thought they got along well. The first months of marriage were normal. I worked, came home, we had dinner together, watch TV, the usual. Amanda had quit her receptionist job to be a stay-at-home wife, which seemed fine to me because I made enough for both of us, and she said she wanted to focus on making our home comfortable and volunteering at church. The problem was, the house was never clean. Like there were dirty dishes in the sink for days, laundry piled up, the food she made was like sandwiches or frozen meals, and when I asked her, she'd say she'd been too busy with her church activities. Okay, I thought. I guess volunteering can be demanding. But here's where things got weird. Amanda went out a lot, like 3 or 4 times a week, saying she was going to prayer meetings, helping at the food bank, planning church events, always something church-related. She'd come home late, like 10 or 11 at night, sometimes smelling of different perfume or with messed up hair, and when I'd ask where exactly she'd been, she'd get defensive. Why are you interrogating me? Don't you trust me? I'm doing God's work. And I felt bad for asking. You know? Like I was the controlling, jealous husband. My mom always defended Amanda, saying, Joshua, leave her alone. She's a wonderful woman dedicated to her faith. You should be proud to have a wife like that. So I'd shut up and try not to think too much about it. This went on for almost 2 years. 2 years where I basically lived with a roommate who sometimes slept in my bed, but was never really present. My dad asked me one day if everything was okay in my marriage, and I told him yes, everything's fine, because admitting my marriage was shit meant admitting my mom had been wrong about Amanda, and I knew that would cause huge drama. But things kept getting worse. Amanda was less and less at home, increasingly distant when we were together, and I started to feel that something definitely wasn't right. One Sunday, I decided to surprise her at the church where she supposedly volunteered. I thought we could have lunch together after the service, something romantic, you know? I got to the church, looked everywhere, asked several people if they knew Amanda, my wife who volunteers here, and everyone looked at me confused. Finally, I found the pastor and asked him directly, and he told me, I'm sorry, son, but we don't have any volunteer by that name. Are you sure it's this church? My heart dropped to my stomach. I showed him a photo of Amanda on my phone and he said, no, I've never seen her. I left there feeling like I'm going to throw up, literally dizzy trying to process what I had just discovered. For the next 2 weeks, I became a detective. Every time Amanda said she was going to church, I followed her in my car, keeping enough distance so she wouldn't see me. The first time I followed her to a Starbucks where she met up with a guy. They sat together, talked, laughed, very casual, like friends maybe. But the second time, 3 days later, I followed her to a house in a neighborhood I didn't recognize. I watched as she parked, as that same guy came out of the house, as they kissed, not a friend's kiss, but a kiss, and then they went into the house together. I sat in my car for like an hour, hands shaking, unable to believe what I had just seen. When she finally came back to her car like 2 hours later, the guy walked her to the door, kissed her again, and she left like nothing happened. I kept gathering evidence for 2 more weeks. I followed her 4 more times, took photos, recorded videos on my phone, wrote down dates and times. I investigated the guy on social media using the house address. Turned out his name was Connor. He was 29 years old, and according to his Facebook, he had gone to the same high school as Amanda. In fact, there were several photos of them together from when they were teenagers, with comments like, I miss you guys, or best friends forever. Everything started making sense. She had been seeing her high school boyfriend this whole time, using church as an excuse. The confrontation was brutal. I got home on a Friday night, put all the photos and videos on the laptop, called her to the living room, and told her we need to talk. She tried to act normal. What's wrong, honey? But when she saw the screen with the photo of her and Connor kissing, her face went white. She tried to deny it at first. That's not me. I don't know what you're talking about. But then I showed her the videos and the dates and everything, and she finally broke down. She started crying, saying she was so sorry, that it was a mistake, that Connor had gotten in touch with her like 2 years ago and they started talking and things got out of control. I asked her how many times, and she didn't want to tell me, but finally admitted they had been seeing each other regularly for almost 2 years, basically since the beginning of our marriage, 2 years. She had been cheating on me literally the entire time we'd been married. I told her I wanted a divorce. She started begging, saying we could go to couples therapy, that she'd end it with Connor, that she'd do whatever it took, but I was done. The following Monday, I hired a lawyer and started divorce proceedings. I compiled all the evidence, gave everything to my lawyer, and he said with this proof the divorce would be quick and I wouldn't have to pay anything because we had clear proof of adultery. Here's where everything got completely insane. I decided to tell our families what had happened, so I created a group chat with my mom, my dad, Amanda, Rachel, who's Amanda's mom, and some close aunts, uncles, and cousins. I sent a long message explaining what Amanda had done, attached some of the photos and videos as evidence, and said we were getting divorced. The responses were immediate. My dad called right away saying, "I'm so sorry, son. I'm here for you." Aunts, uncles, and cousins expressed their support. Rachel, Amanda's mom, started attacking me, saying I was a bad husband, that surely I had pushed Amanda into another man's arms. But what hurt me the most was my mom's response. My mom wrote a long message defending Amanda. She said marriages go through difficult times, that maybe Amanda felt lonely, that I probably worked too much and didn't pay attention to her, that we all deserve second chances. I called my mom immediately and told her mom. She cheated on me for 2 years. I have evidence. I saw it with my own eyes. And she just kept saying, "But Joshua, marriage is sacred. You can't just give up." I asked, "Are you defending the woman who betrayed me?" And she said, "I'm not defending what she did. I'm just saying you should try to work it out." I hung up feeling completely betrayed, not just by Amanda, but by my own mother. The divorce process started and everything was going well until Amanda dropped a bomb. At a hearing, her lawyer announced that Amanda was pregnant, 8 weeks along, and that the baby was mine. I almost fell out of my chair. It had been like 3 months since I'd touched Amanda, literally since before discovering the affair, because I already felt something was wrong and didn't feel like being intimate with her. I told my lawyer it was impossible for it to be mine, that it was definitely Connor's, but Amanda's lawyer insisted that we had been married and living together, that technically it could be mine. My mom, instead of supporting me, started calling me saying, "Joshua, you're going to be a father. You have to forget the past and think about the baby." I told her, "Mom, that baby is not mine. It's Connor's." And she responded, "You can't be sure of that. You have to accept responsibility." I was incredulous. Like, "Are you really doing this?" Then she said something that chilled my blood. "If this case goes to trial, I'm going to testify in favor of Amanda and tell the judge that you and Amanda were trying to have a baby, that this baby has to be yours." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I yelled at her on the phone, "Are you willing to lie in court? To destroy my life? Just because you want a grandchild?" And she very calmly said, "It's not lying, Joshua. It's doing the right thing for that innocent baby." I hung up and cried for the first time in years, like full-on sobbing, because my own mother was choosing my cheating wife over me, her own son. And she did it. At the next hearing, my mom showed up and testified. She stood there in front of the judge and said that Amanda and I had a regular, intimate relationship, that I had expressed wanting to be a father, that we were very excited when Amanda mentioned wanting to have children. All lies. My lawyer tried to cross-examine her, asking how she knew about our intimate life, and she just said, "Amanda told me everything. We were very close." The judge heard everything, and in the end, ordered that we wait until the baby was born to do a paternity test before determining child support. Basically, he didn't completely believe my mom, but didn't dismiss her either. During Amanda's pregnancy, my mom became her best friend again. She took her to all the medical appointments, bought her baby stuff, planned the baby shower, posted on Facebook about how excited she was to be a grandmother. My dad was furious with her, called me often saying, "I don't understand what's wrong with your mother. This isn't right," but she wouldn't listen to anyone. Rachel, Amanda's mom, was also happy. The two of them acted like they were co-grandmas waiting for this miracle baby. The baby was born in April, a girl, and my mom posted photos on Facebook saying, "Meet my beautiful granddaughter." I hadn't even seen the baby. Obviously. My lawyer immediately requested the paternity test. The judge ordered it done, and we had to wait like 2 weeks for the results. It was the longest 2 weeks of my life, with my mom calling me saying, When you see your daughter, you're going to fall in love. You're going to forget all of this. The results came. Probability of paternity, 0%. The baby was not mine. I sent the results to the whole family in the same group chat where I had shared the photos of the affair. I wrote something like, "As you can see, I was right all along. This baby isn't mine. Amanda lied to me, and my own mother was willing to destroy me for a baby that isn't even her grandchild." Amanda tried calling me crying, saying she had hoped the baby was mine, that it had been an honest mistake, that we could still raise the baby together, even though it wasn't mine biologically because we had already formed a bond. I told her, "What bond, Amanda? I never saw that baby. I didn't even know her name. Don't ever call me again." I also sent a message to Connor, the affair guy, with a copy of the paternity results saying, "Congratulations, Dad. You have a daughter. I hope you're ready to pay child support." Turns out Connor didn't want anything to do with the baby. Amanda expected him to marry her once my divorce came through, like she thought they were going to be a happy family. But Connor told her he never wanted kids, that their thing was just fun, and basically ghosted her. So Amanda was left alone with a baby, no husband, no boyfriend, living with her mom, Rachel. My mom, incredibly, still defended Amanda. After the results came out, she posted on Facebook something about how family is defined by love, not blood, and kept calling the baby her granddaughter. She visited her at Rachel's house, bought her things, took photos, and shared them on social media. My dad finally exploded. He called me and said, "Son, I'm separating from your mother. I can't continue with this. She's completely lost her mind." I told him, "Dad, you don't have to do that for me." And he responded, "It's not just for you. It's because I realized the woman I married isn't who I thought she was. I don't recognize her anymore. My parents separated in July. My dad rented an apartment but basically lives with me half the time because we've become very close during all this drama. He's in the process of divorce now. His lawyer says with all the evidence of how my mom lied in court and acted irrationally, he'll probably get a favorable division of assets. My mom is still in denial, calling me sometimes, leaving voicemails saying I'm destroying the family, that how can I turn my back on an innocent mother and her baby. I blocked her number 2 months ago. My divorce from Amanda was finalized in August. I didn't have to pay anything, no child support or alimony, due to proven adultery and proof that the baby wasn't mine. Amanda tried asking me for money after the divorce, saying she was struggling financially, but obviously I told her no. Connor, the real dad, was finally forced by the court to pay child support after Amanda sued him. But from what I heard, he's paying the legal minimum because he works in construction and doesn't make much. Like 2 weeks ago, I posted the whole story on Facebook because I was fed up with my mom continuing to post things that made me look like the bad guy. I wrote a super long post explaining everything: Amanda's affair, the paternity test, how my mom lied in court, everything with evidence attached. I tagged my mom, Amanda, Rachel, Connor, everyone. The post went viral in our circle, like hundreds of comments from friends and family supporting me and expressing shock at what my mom had done. My mom responded with a long comment about how I was airing dirty laundry in public and that God would judge me. But most people responded telling her she was the one who was wrong. She eventually deleted her Facebook completely because the amount of people criticizing her was too much. Now my mom lives alone in the family house. My dad is here with me, planning his new life after the divorce. Amanda is with her mom, Rachel struggling as a single mother, while Connor pays the minimum and avoids seeing the baby. And I'm rebuilding my life, focusing on my work, on my mental health, trying to process everything that happened. Last week, my dad and I went fishing, something we hadn't done in years. And while we were there at the lake, he told me, "You know, Joshua, your mother always had this fantasy of having a daughter, and when she met Amanda, I think she finally felt like she had the daughter she wanted, and that completely blinded her." I told him, "I know, Dad, but how could you be married to someone like that for 30 years? And he responded honestly, "I don't know. I guess I never thought she'd go this far. Never thought she'd choose a fantasy over her own son." We stayed silent for a while, just the sound of the water and birds. And then he said, "I'm proud of you for standing firm, for not letting yourself be manipulated." I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive my mom. Part of me understands she had this sick need to have a daughter that she could never satisfy, but another part of me is so angry, I can't even think about her without feeling that rage in my chest. She chose. She had 1,000 opportunities to choose me, her real son, over Amanda, and that baby that isn't even her grandchild. And every time she chose fantasy over reality. My dad tells me that eventually the anger will diminish, that someday I'll be able to process all this without feeling like I'm being stabbed, but for now it still hurts too much. I keep moving forward, working, seeing friends, going on dates occasionally, though I'm not ready for anything serious. My therapist says I'm making progress, that it's normal to feel betrayed and that it takes time to heal from. Something like this. Sometimes I wonder if my mom will ever wake up and realize what she did, if someday she'll call me and genuinely apologize, not with excuses but with a real apology. My dad says don't count on it, that people who are so deep in their own fantasies rarely can see reality even when it hits them in the face. I guess he's right. For now, I'm focused on rebuilding. Rebuilding my trust, rebuilding my relationships, rebuilding my life without Amanda and without my mom. My dad is here. Some cousins and aunts and uncles who supported me through all this are still in regular contact. And that's enough. I don't need a mother who sees me as a mistake, as the wrong thing that came out when she wanted something else. I deserve better than that, and I'm finally starting to truly believe it.